not bringing young people into our organizations, however fabulous our organizations, at the age of 18 and expecting them to stay there committedly, loyally until the age of 65. That's a pipe dream. It's just simply not going to happen anymore. And it's not only because they are the instant gratification generation who want to climb the corporate ladder in under 10 minutes, but also because they're looking at their parents and grandparents and the older people in the organization, and they're kind of going, well, you don't seem that happy, and you're not that healthy, and you don't seem that self-aware, and so I don't want to be like you, and it must be because you've been here forever. So when we look at generation theory, we look at behavior, which is obviously the manifestation of our feelings and thoughts, but we also need to unpack where those attitudes come from. So in other words, why do I have the thoughts and feelings that I have that determine my behavior? And so what we can look at by way of using generation theory is what's going on in our value system. So there's no difference between them and us in terms of what might be important to them. But what is different is how they value those things and what kind of importance they put on, for example, education, work, politics, family, etc. And I always use the example of values that companies like to construct in order for everybody to buy into the corporate culture so that everybody can satisfy the vision that the baby boomers have for the future and growth of the organization. You know, words like respect and integrity and honesty, transparency, the stuff that baby boomers like to frame around the walls, you know, that everybody kind of goes, I don't really know what integrity means because nobody taught me what it meant. The bottom line is, Generation Y have an understanding of respect. It's just a very different understanding to, for example, baby boomers or the silent generation's understanding of respect. So, for example, if you're in your 70s now and you belong to the silent generation, your understanding of respect is because I'm older than you, because I'm your father, because I'm your teacher or your lecturer, you will respect me, right? And Gen Y are like, sorry for that, brother. You know, the third most influential person on the planet is an oak called Justin Bieber. Have you heard of him, Dinosaur? He's like really, really rich and cool, and he's younger than me. So you better earn my respect, dude. If you and I are going to connect, best you understand me. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges that management face in the world of work today. The sense that these young people don't necessarily respect you until they see a reason. We also call them Generation Y, WHY. And if you're taking notes, write that down, because if you know anything about Generation Y, they need to know why before they do it. And I always say I love the fact that they've always lived in a world of so much choice, they don't even know what to call themselves. They have that many names. And that kind of defines them. The fact that they've grown up in a world, write this down if you're taking notes, of constant change and unprecedented choice, which is why we also call them the hacker generation. They will hack the system if they don't like the system. And guess what? They're looking at the system, whether it's the family system, the corporate system, the government system, the environmental system, and they're going, the system's a mess. Best we do something to change it. Decide what rules do we need to keep, because they are rules that are still relevant for the success of our business or the family or the growth of our children, and what rules can we change because they're not really relevant in the grand scheme of things anymore. And if you are a discerning leader or manager, that's what you would ask yourself. What rules are still relevant and which ones can I waver slightly because I'm consciously doing that for the greater good of the future. Generation Y are used to having access transparently to information via social media. So now they come into the organization and they go, these oaks upstairs are having these private conversations behind big oak doors. I'm not cool with that. And then they frame the things that I'm supposed to do and tell me that I'm supposed to do. I'm not okay with that because I'm used to being privy to this open conversation. Besides which, I have been told since I was the age of 6 to stand up in front of my class and research stuff and then offer my opinion on stuff. So I'm used to having a voice. And now I come into the organization and you don't give me a voice. Now you know why I'm going to hack the organization. So again, what's going on here? We have a generation of young people who have the tools to communicate immediately, efficiently, effectively, and very importantly, collectively. Are they going to play by the same rules? Absolutely not. They're going to go, why would I sit in a basement office alone with stuff to read when I don't have to? We call them the subscribe, unsubscribe generation. I will poke you on Facebook and block you on BBM. I've got the tools to do that, don't I? So now I don't know how to show up when there's any kind of conflict. I can moan about it a lot because I'm used to having an opinion, and I'm very cool with vomiting out my feelings about you. But then when I have to deal with the reality or the consequences of that, I'm not so cool with that. Do you see that? Do you see how these tools can affect this? The other thing about this generation, and it is seriously impacting the workplace, is that we call them the social snacker generation. They kind of nibble on little bits of information when they feel like it. Yeah, but what's happened is that we have a generation of young people who are battling to do more than just recall information. So they're very good at recalling information, less good at comprehending information. If I can't comprehend information, I'm not going to be able to interrogate information. And if I cannot interrogate information, I'm likely not going to be able to apply information. And so there's a crisis. Because whatever business you're in, you need to take the theory and apply it. If you learn anything about Gen Y today, I hope you hear this. Do not make assumptions about Gen Y. See them as an individual. And however irritating, remember that they're a very precious individual who matter and need to be seen for who they are. But in turn, they want to see you for who you are. What you know is no longer a management differentiator. Who you are is a lot more important. So when we're managing them, please tell them why. If I get it, I'll be cool. They're actually a very ambitious, very committed, very engaged generation, but they need to know why. The greatest gift that you can give them is teaching them how to be critical thinkers and problem solvers. Learning that collaboration across networks is important. And if I have to collaborate with people that are older than me, I need to understand what's important. So like I say, it's not about changing all the rules. It's about doing what's best. Taking initiative, learning how to be innovative and creative, give them the scope to be that. They actually are that. They just don't have the room or the scope to be that. Of course, within the constraints of whatever business you're in. Very importantly, if you're to manage Gen Y successfully, give them feedback. They're a generation who are very used to recognition. And I'm not talking about the annual report that is spat out by some secretary on email. I'm talking about individual, constant feedback. It doesn't have to be formal. It doesn't have to be a big ritual. It doesn't have to have fanfare attached to it. It's just that constant recognition, because otherwise they'll think that they've done something wrong. The majority of Gen Ys come from broken homes or parents who haven't spent a lot of time with them. They don't have community mentors, religious mentors. They don't. One of the biggest problems in South Africa is absent fathers, which is why I believe that they lack empathy, although they have a lot of tolerance. And there's a huge difference between the two. So sometimes you need to join the dots for them, that behavior is not okay. Very importantly, that you're consistent, transparent, and fair. If they perceive you to be hiding stuff, if they perceive you to be volatile, or if they perceive you to be unfair, they will perceive you to be dishonest. We need to also prepare Gen Y for the future. The scary part about that, we don't even really know what's going on into the future. So what do? We become real and authentic human beings that they can connect to genuinely. You may be the only genuine thing in their life. Darwin said that it's not the strongest, nor is it the most intelligent who survive. It's the most adaptable. And never has that been more true in the world of work than it is today.